The world-famous sports corporation Nike has highlighted the importance of inclusivity as a value of theirs. In fact, the equality page on Nike's website states, "We are committed to fostering an inclusive culture at Nike and to breaking down barriers for all athletes." In this video, I will be analysing Nike's approach to its advertising, focusing on the company's use of diversity and telling stories that speak to the experience of various different groups of people who are all facing their own adversity. From black youth living in impoverished communities to people suffering from obesity and many other groups of people. I will be addressing the ethics behind this tactic, and through interviews with people part of the advertising industry and large Nike consumers/fans, try to determine whether or not Nike's creative advertising decisions reflect a sincere care for diversity, or if these decisions suggest that they are trying to exploit diversity for financial gain. Before we jump any further, let's get a better understanding of ethics and ethics in context to advertising. What are ethics? According to Professor of Psychiatry and Philosophy, Dr. Roger Walsh, ethics is the intention with which we are acting. Dr. Walsh also suggests that an intention is ethical to the extent it aims at enhancing the welfare and well-being of everyone, including oneself. And put simply by the Ethics Center, you might want to think of ethics as a tool that helps us create the difference between a good decision and a bad one. What are ethics in advertising? Former President and CEO of the American Advertising Federation, Wally Snyder, defines enhanced advertising ethics as doing the right things as we present advertising to consumers and as we engage in business dealings with our partners or our clients. Wally believes that interactions with consumers has three commitments. The first being ads must be truthful. The second being to treat certain audiences fairly and to not deceive them. And the third being to not offend consumers. Ethics in advertising clearly has a lot to do with the way in which creatives present their work to viewers, and the creative choices they make to persuade their viewers into agreeing with their point of view. Part of Nike's mission statement reads, "If you have a body, you're an athlete." This is the message Nike wants to send to the world, and one way in which they communicate this is through the narrative of many of their advertisements. From stories about girls being some of the best and most capable athletes in the world, to stories about young kids being equal to football's greatest players. If the general reception from the public and critics means anything, it's that ad after ad, Nike seems to always hit the mark with its advertisements. A great example of this would be this entry into Nike's Find Your Greatness campaign. A simple ad featuring a young heavy-set man running. He overcomes his obstacle of obesity, doesn't give up, and proves to the world that plus-sized people can bring out the athlete within them to better their lives. As a viewer, I can't help but feel as though this piece of content would feel more sincere if it were a government-issued PSA. The fact is, it's not a PSA, it's a creative piece of storytelling made to promote the Nike brand. But why might it be unethical? David Katz, founder of the True Health Initiative, says, "I am concerned that the ad suggests that something for which obesity is a genuine barrier. Athletic prowess is what greatness is all about. This, of course, is nearsighted nonsense. This suggests that Nike is using the theme of obesity to sway people into thinking that athletic prowess is what greatness is all about, and that they will need Nike's help to accomplish this mission of becoming athletic. The advert comes across as heartwarming and well-intended in nature, but the undertone of advertising the Nike brand makes the advert feel rather exploitative and deceitful, serving a hidden agenda, sell the Nike brand and portray the brand as inclusive. But there are those who believe that this inclusivity of obese people into the advertising is actually a good thing. This viewer believes that that look of determination on that kid's face is far more inspiring than your typical run-of-the-mill jacked up athlete in these type of ads." We want to know if Nike are being honest. Do they genuinely want to spread hope, or are they just exploiting the theme of obesity to make a quick buck? The thing about determining whether or not something is ethical is it is quite tough because you can't go into the minds of these creatives. There may never be an answer, and so to determine whether or not this ad is ethical, I want to know one simple thing. Is it good or is it bad? To do this, I'm going to speak to some people who work in advertising to get their interpretations as creative ad people on this project. And you don't think it's like a bandwagon, what with the body positive movement and everything?
Well, again, like I said, my answer to the question is because it's part of culture and part of a conversation, they want to be part of it. So yes, you could say it's jumping on a bandwagon. Is being part of current culture jumping on a bandwagon? Maybe. It depends what point you jump on, I guess.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily unethical if you're trying to do something good for people, is it?
No, that's right, yeah.
With advertising, pretty much everything is kind of manipulative to a certain extent. You're just trying to get someone to buy your product by tugging on their feelings, getting something that they like, or getting someone they see as a inspiration in part of your adverts. You're just like taking stuff that you think will make people buy your product. But what they do is they put what they make from those products back into the communities that they profit from. And that's what I think makes them better.
It feels like they're trying to be honest, truthful. This is and most people putting on a pair of Nike shoes are not Kobe Bryant, are not, some top athlete. It is just a person trying to do something, trying to get fit.
So you're saying you can do it, but you can do it with Nike.
The takeaway here is that sure, perhaps Nike are jumping onto a bandwagon which will make profit, but the positive outweighs the negative, that being inspiring plus-sized people to live healthier lives and spreading hope. This decision to jump onto a bandwagon is not necessarily unethical given the positive impact the ad is having on viewers. Moving on to the next topic, Nike's use of black celebrities. My studies in advertising have taught me that advertising clearly has an influence on society and can make certain brands appeal to particular demographics. Kevin Spence of Gatton Research says, Michael Jordan's brand sold nearly $130 million in its debut year in 1984. These numbers are among the highest of any debut brand in the history of athletic merchandise, proving that this method of celebrity endorsements in advertising is successful. This method seems to have shaped Nike's use of regularly utilizing black athletes in their advertising works. This strategy has created an emotional attachment for many black youth to the Jordan brand. However, unfortunately, over the years, many young black children have lost their lives over a pair of Nike shoes. Yes, Air Jordans in particular. In recent years, Nike have even started utilizing non-athletes in their marketing efforts, from Kanye West to Kevin Hart, both black and pop culture relevant. The use of these celebrities is clearly successful for creating brand value and loyalty among their consumers. But at this point, with all the violence and death surrounding obtaining these sneakers in the black community, is it ethical to continue using this marketing method as aggressively as they do even to this day? Do you feel like this sort of use of telling diverse stories in general is somewhat manipulation on Nike's part, emotional manipulation to get people to buy more Nike trainers?
But like, I remember there was this one advert where they had like loads of people from like London and stuff like that, and they did like their different stories, like using it to, I thought it was like a way to embrace different places.
An embrace. Yeah.
I think what Nike want to be is part of the conversation, is part of culture. They're involved in culture. I think being part of culture and being part of the conversation is really important.
You'd argue it's much more ethical that they're doing it.
Yeah, I feel like it's more ethical than doing it. They've always been supportive of the ethnic groups that they're like profiting from, or the communities that they profit from. They've always shown love in one way or another through the creatives that they bring forward or the companies that they collaborate.
The consensus on this topic is slightly different. Both people part of the advertising industry and general viewers feel as though this use of black celebrities is part of the larger conversation of inclusivity, which is in fact ethical and outweighs the unfortunate side effect of murders over Nike shoes. Neither groups of people blame Nike for playing any part at all in the murders and feel as though this is Nike being part of the cultural conversation, which is in fact important for society. Now let's move on to the final topic, Nike's Londoner ad. It brings London's youth to the forefront of the ad. It highlights their adversity and puts them in equal footing with some of the greatest athletes in the world. This ad is a real celebration of young athletes in London. However, some viewers noticed the exclusion of young South Asians in the ad and its marketing material. It's something that's hard to ignore, as London is packed to the brim with young, aspiring South Asian athletes. Nike clearly have no problem using black and white youth throughout their campaigns, as evident with their past ads. Given the vast number of these aspiring athletes in London, this choice feels like more of an active exclusion. You and I both have one thing in common with this ad. We're both young Londoners, right? We both grew up in London in different parts. We've both been on the pitches. We also happen to be massive fans of Nike. With that in mind, what impact did this exclusion have on you as a young South Asian football fan who's actively playing football still to this day on the pitch?
It's kind of like a low blow. It's like when I've grown up playing football, it's unbelievable that they had the same cages that we used. One of the cages I even recognized in the advert, like where I've played before.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, easily the days that I went, 50%, maybe 65% were all South Asians. And what they weren't represented in their own local pitch, I found that horrible. The fact that they had an ad that was able to facilitate all these ethnic groups, and then yet they were able to miss out one in particular, I believe that is totally unethical, because it's almost like a big slap to the face, almost. Because it's like, oh, Nike, this massive company, decided to represent all of the local people who play football, yet they miss out the group of people who are also relevant to it. Like, there's no denying that the relevance of our ethnic group in this.